Hey everybody, before we start, right behind me is, whoops, this way, there's Maggie. Hey Maggie, look up. That's my dog Maggie. She's pretty, but she's not very smart. Okay? Now, let's continue our story. Remember, Dewey is rocking the world. Okay? His progressivism is spreading like wildfire throughout the education world. Excuse me. The mantra of child-centeredness, child-centered education, was heard in every school throughout the nation. Okay? The problem was this: it was believed too strongly. If you said, well, I'm doing this because it's child-centered, no one questioned you. Dewey's beliefs became so strong that they weren't to be questioned. If you're like, oh, wait a second, I don't know about this progressivism, you were in some deep doo-doo as a teacher. Okay? That's bad. Ideas should always be exposed to competition. Okay? What happened was progressivism kind of got perverted. And I'm using the word perverted on purpose, okay? The word perverted is kind of icky. You know, it's like, perverted, okay? And that's what happened to progressivism. Child-centeredness means, as it got perverted, got to mean focus only on what the child wants to do. The child calls the shots. That's why in some schools we still have units on dinosaurs and butterflies year after year after year. Both are very interesting. Instead, we have miniature paleontologists and entomologists. It was carried to extreme. Dewey argued that you need to use the interests of the children, okay? Get the interests of the children and use them as a hook and not drag, but use their interests to take them where they need to be. Not look at the interests of the children and just teach the interests. The interests were only useful to Dewey as an instrument to get them to learn what they needed to know, not just to teach them what they wanted to know. That's a major difference that you do need to know. Okay? Now, because of this perversion of progressivism as it spread around the country, lots of different things started to happen to public education. Okay. One of the big movers on the scene was Charles Prosser. Okay. He gave a famous speech called the Prosser Resolution, in which he said, if you look across all the schools in the nation, we have programs for the top 20%. Those are the college prep kids. And we have programs for the bottom 20%. Those are the vocational education kids, the voc ed kids, okay, the trade skills. He also said the top kids thought with their heads, with their minds, okay? And the bottom kids thought with their hands through manual manipulation, okay? But that leaves 60% in the middle they don't have anything. So what Prosser said was, we need something for them. These are the majority of the society. These are the people that do the majority of the living and the dying and the paying of taxes. These are your teachers and your bank tellers and the people down at the movie theater. This is the majority of us. And there's no explicit curriculum for them. Okay? Remember the term curricular differentiation? This is where it comes full bore. And once again, for social efficiency. Okay? The college prep kids and the voc ed kids have what they need for their slots in society, but the middle 60% doesn't. So what comes along is life adjustment education. Now, life adjustment education, 3 words. I assume none of you have heard this term before, being in this class, but all of you could define it. Life adjustment education. It's education to help you adjust to your life. That's it. So, do you want to get married someday? If so, we should probably teach you proper courting, to use an old-fashioned term. Do you want to make money? I'm guessing the answer is no because you're in an education class. But let's say you wanted to make money. We should teach you personal finance. Okay? Do you want to have kids? We should teach you something about how to take care of babies. Okay? Do y'all have brothers and sisters? We should teach you how to get along socially with your siblings. The coin of the realm at this point became practicality. Okay? If it wasn't useful, the schools didn't teach it. Okay? And for those elite students that really wanted the hardcore academic sciences, or hardcore academic classes, they were seen as troublemakers. Because who wouldn't want these academic classes that are, these life adjustment classes that are geared just to your needs? Okay, life adjustment education became so strong that there's actually a famous story in education where in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the high school faculty kind of revolted against it, and they fired the entire faculty because life adjustment was the way to go. If practicality becomes the test of what should be in the curriculum, what do you think the first subject to die was? Are you thinking? The first subject was Latin. Latin's a dead language. Why should we use it? Let's get rid of it. Forget that it's the basis for most of our language. It didn't have immediate practicality. This is when Latin, for the most part, died. It's kind of enjoyed a renaissance lately, but this is the time where Latin was almost dealt a death blow. Okay, so you've got this kind of grossly watered down curriculum spreading throughout the country, and you can imagine some people are not going to like this. One was Arthur Bester, okay, who was a historian from the University of Illinois, who wrote a book, and this is a fabulous book, called Educational Wastelands. This guy spared no words. He basically said, we're giving baby food to our kids, we're dumbing them down, we're disarming ourselves, and people deserve better than that. He railed against life adjustment education, trying to kill it. Okay? He had a lot of help in 1957. What big thing happened in 1957? It was a world event. Anyone? Anyone? The launching of Sputnik. Sputnik 1 was the first man-made satellite to orbit the Earth, and it was made by the Russians. Now, in 1957, that is not a good thing, because, remember, in the educational context, those dirty pinko commie bastards beat us to space. We lost the space race. We're supposed to be the greatest nation in the world. How could those commies beat us? Well, the nation was in an uproar. When Sputnik circled over North America, they didn't know whether it was going to shoot out death rays or what. Panic ensued. Okay? And the reason we lost the space race to put a satellite up was American public schools. Okay? I'm sure you've probably heard public schools be blamed for other things as well. But at the time, the American schools were blamed for losing the space race because they were doing this life adjustment crap. So on the scene came Admiral Hyman Rickover. Hyman Rickover. He was a really smart dude. He was the inventor of the nuclear submarine and a U.S. Navy admiral. Well, anyway, Rickover goes on a campaign around the nation, screaming, we need the best for the brightest, the best for the brightest. Okay? He wants to kill life adjustment education, he wants to kill progressive education, and he wants the best for the brightest. He wants rigor back in American schools. Okay? However, he had a fatal flaw. That flaw was his term, his slogan. Using best for the brightest allowed the non-brightest to get the non-best. That hardcore academics did come back into most of the schools for the elite. Remember raking rubies from the rubbish? This is coming back in this form here. Okay, so the elite kids got the good academic stuff, but it left life adjustment education whole. It was greatly damaged, but it survived. And the proof is this, all right? Usually I ask you to raise your hands, but since we can't see each other, that's not going to work. How many of you took a class called, I don't know, teen living, modern living, homemaking, something where you carried around either a sack of flour or an egg or one of those electronic babies that cries? That's a holdover from the life adjustment days. Those classes never completely died out. Some of them are still in our curriculum. Okay? So although Bester and Rickover fought really hard to kill it, it did survive. Greatly weakened, granted, but it did survive. Sputnik is 1957. 1958, Congress steps in with the first major investment in education, because education is basically a state's right. In 1958, Congress passed the National Defense Education Act because we needed to straighten up those schools. The National Defense Education Act invested primarily in 3 major curricular areas. Okay, can you guess them? The first 2 are easy: math and science. Okay, we need to beat the Russians, okay, in their scientific advancement. The third thing was, you ready? Foreign languages. We needed spies to go around the world and collect intelligence, and they needed to be fluent in foreign languages. So math, science, and foreign languages got a huge influx in money. However, it didn't go to math, science, and language teachers, no, because you couldn't trust them. They were trained in those progressive colleges of education. Instead, it went to mathematicians, scientists, and linguists to develop, quote, teacher-proof curriculum. Teacher-proof curriculum. Okay? Because we couldn't count on the teachers to be smart enough to do the teaching. So this is where scripted curriculum comes from. Okay, teachers were not smart enough, couldn't be trusted. So basically what they did was they scripted out lessons. Okay? So the teacher would basically say, okay, question 1 is, why is the sky blue? Okay, class, why is the sky blue? And they would have an answer here on the paper. And it greatly deprofessionalized teaching as a result. So one big influx into those areas, but not to those teachers, to the scientists. Okay. 2, because the teachers were being blamed for this, funding was removed from a lot of colleges of education. Colleges of ed closed, not all of them, but a lot of colleges of education closed or greatly reduced their faculty during this time because they were in such poor standing. That's it for this time. Bye.